We covered anatomy, the full assessment, and stroke care. But 3 pieces were still missing. This lecture fills them in. The cranial nerves, what really happens during a stroke alert, and what happens to your patient after the emergency ends. 12 pairs of nerves, numbered in the order they connect to the brain. You don't need to test all 12 on every patient, but you need to recognize which one is failing when something looks wrong. 1 and 2. Olfactory and optic, smell and vision. CN1 is rarely tested formally, but loss of smell after head trauma is a real finding. Document it. CN2. Check pupillary light reflex. Light in the eye travels the optic nerve in and comes back out through the oculomotor nerve, cranial 3. 3, 4, and 6 move the eyes. Oculomotor, trochlear, abducens. Together they control every direction your eyes can look. A new unilateral fixed and dilated pupil with a dropping level of consciousness means the oculomotor nerve is being compressed. That's uncal herniation. It is a neurosurgical emergency. Call immediately. 5 is trigeminal, facial sensation, and the muscles of chewing. 7 is facial, the muscles of expression, and taste on the front of the tongue. This is the one you already know from stroke assessment. Ask them to smile, raise their eyebrows. Asymmetry here is one of your most reliable stroke signs. 8 is vestibulocochlear, hearing and balance. 9 and 10, glossopharyngeal and vagus, work together for swallowing and the gag reflex. Watch the uvula when they say, ah. It should rise straight up. If it deviates to one side, the nerve on the opposite side is the one that's weak. 11 is accessory, shoulder shrug and head turn. 12 is hypoglossal, the tongue. Ask them to stick it out. Here the rule flips. The tongue deviates toward the side of the weakness, not away from it. Same test, opposite logic from the uvula. That's exactly why nurses mix these 2 up. You don't need to memorize all 12 names under pressure. You need 3 patterns. Pupils and eye movement, 3, 4, and 6. Face and swallow, 7, 9, and 10. And tongue, 12. Those 3 clusters cover almost every cranial nerve finding you'll ever chart. You already know to call the stroke alert. But what actually happens in the minutes after you make that call? Here's the sequence so you know exactly what your role is at every step. The moment you activate, a whole team is paged simultaneously. The stroke physician or neurologist, radiology, sometimes pharmacy. This isn't sequential. It's everyone converging at once, because parallel response is what saves minutes. Your job in those first minutes: get vitals, get a glucose, get IV access, and get the last known well time nailed down. From a witness, if you can find one. The patient goes to CT before almost anything else happens. No CT, no clot buster. That rule never changes. While that's happening, someone is scoring the NIH stroke scale. Often you. That number gets radioed ahead. It tells the team how severe this is before the physician even lays eyes on the patient. Imaging determines the fork in the road. Blood on the scan, the whole plan flips to hemorrhagic management. No thrombolytics, ever. No blood, and they're inside the window. The thrombolysis conversation starts immediately. Large vessel occlusion. The thrombectomy team gets activated in parallel. Your role doesn't end when the physician arrives. You're the one repeating the NIHSS to catch any change, holding the blood pressure inside its target, and keeping that patient NPO until swallow is cleared. The stroke alert is a team sport, but the nurse is the constant thread through every step of it. The emergency ends. Your patient doesn't leave. They're still yours for days, sometimes weeks, and the complications that follow a stroke cause real morbidity of their own. Here's what to watch for. Aspiration pneumonia is the single deadliest complication after stroke. It causes the highest attributable mortality of any medical complication that follows. Dysphagia, aphasia, and decreased cognition are the biggest risk factors, which is exactly why that swallow screen isn't optional. DVT and pulmonary embolism come next. Stroke patients are often immobile, sometimes paralyzed on one side, and that's the exact setup for a clot. Sequential compression devices, early mobility work with PT the moment it's safe, and watching that weak leg closely. All of it matters. Watch for spasticity, muscle tightness in the affected limb, sometimes appearing days or even months later. It's painful, and it's progressive if it's ignored. Range of motion and positioning from day one are what prevent it from becoming permanent. Post-stroke depression is real, common, and frequently missed. This is a patient who may have lost speech, mobility, or independence in a single afternoon. Screen for it. It isn't just sadness. It directly slows physical recovery. And recurrence. A stroke survivor's risk of a second stroke is significant, which is why secondary prevention starts before discharge. Blood pressure control, antiplatelet or anticoagulant therapy, glucose management, and patient education that actually sticks. Quick case. Day 3 after an ischemic stroke, your patient's uvula deviates to the left when she says, "ah." Which side is weak? The right. The uvula deviates away from the weak side. So a left deviating uvula means the right glossopharyngeal and vagus nerves are affected. Same patient, day 5. Her calf is warm, swollen, and tender. What are you thinking, and what do you do? DVT, until proven otherwise. Don't massage it, don't ambulate her on it. Notify the provider and expect a Doppler ultrasound. 3 pearls to close on. The uvula deviates away from weakness. The tongue deviates toward it. Opposite rules, same exam, don't mix them up. A stroke alert is parallel, not sequential. Everyone converges at once. And the complications after a stroke can hurt your patient as much as the stroke itself. So your job never really stops at the CT scanner. That closes the loop on everything we started with anatomy. Next, we go somewhere the assessment you've mastered becomes the only warning you get. Increased intracranial pressure, and the herniation it can cause if it's missed. I'll see you there.